our channel. Today we are filming a Q&A. Fingers crossed that children stay asleep. I don't know how we've managed it. Oh, I thought the screenshot says it's 2:42. It's not. It's 1:27.
The screenshot does say it's 2:42, so that was confusing.
5 minutes. But yeah, so we are on our second video. High five to us. We're killing it. My bun's crooked and that's gonna drive me crazy.
It looks beautiful.
It's fine. So anyways, we asked you guys along, it's been like 2 months, to ask us questions on Instagram. There were a lot of the same questions.
Overwhelmingly.
So we're going to answer as many as there are that are different questions.
Right.
So the number one question that everybody wants to know
is the variety of, are we going to have more children? Or when are you going to have more children? Are you planning to have more children? Was Oakley your last child?
All of those variations.
So we definitely want to have more children.
All of our family that's watching this is like, oh gosh.
Hi,
Dad.
Yeah. Hi. Oh, Dad. So I think we're thinking one more and to see where we're at there. We
have definitely been, like, every baby that has come, while we're waiting for them to come, or we're like pre-baby being born, we're like, this is the last one. Even with Ellie.
Right.
Before she was born, we were like, we're one and done. Like, oh my gosh, what it took us to get there. Now, in that sense, we were not thinking we were ever going to be able to be pregnant. And so it was a different, like, we can't afford to keep adopting. But with Remy, we thought, we're done. And then in the hospital with him, we were like, we're definitely not done. And then leading up to having Oakley, we were like, no, we're done with 3. And then Oakley was born, and we were like, no, we definitely want another. So it's kind of like a... I do think after 4 kids, things get harder as far as, like, where do you fit them in a car?
Right, you can't just have a standard car like an SUV or a minivan.
I guess you could, but you would have to, like, because we have a minivan, so there's 6 seats in the back, so, like, technically we could fit 6, but, like, not in car seats.
Right, you'd have to spread them out enough to not have a car seat for all of them. We're having a hard time fitting 3 car seats right now.
So having a 4th is going to be hard. But yes, we do want to have a 4th baby. When? I guess you'll have to
stick around to find out. We haven't decided yet.
What happens? Not today.
Yeah, no.
Not today, not this month, not next month. Like, we definitely...
It'll be a little bit down the road. But
we want for this to be the longest gap. So Ellie and Remy are 16 months apart. Remy and Oakley are 11 and a half months apart. This will be longer than 16 months. So if that gives you any kind of idea of, like, what we're kind of talking.
And that's just...
time-wise.
That's just not 16 months from, like, now. It's just... Oakley would be older than that when said baby would be born.
And we kind of bounce back and forth. Like, honestly, some days it's like it changes like every few hours for me. Of like, okay, I'm definitely ready to start trying when he's 1, and then other days I'm like, no, 2, 3, 4.
Well, and then it's also on the hard days when they're just all in your hair, and you get one calm and then another one needs something, and you're like, I can't do this anymore.
Having babies is hard. Like, people are gonna hate me for this, but I have always said, since having Remy, I wish I could be pregnant, give birth, and skip, like, the first 6 months. Like, I love the baby snuggles and I love the cuddles, but it is the hardest on me because, especially with having older kids, I want to be going, I want to be doing things. Ellie and Remy are constantly doing things, and so to sit still and hold Oakley sometimes is just hard to not be able to be up and do things.
Right, you feel like you're missing out with the older kids.
And that was another deciding factor in wanting this next baby to be further apart is I said I want a summer not pregnant. Not pregnant and not having a teeny tiny baby. Oakley will almost be 1 during this next summer. And so I just, like, we want to go to Aquatica and go to the splash pads. And the last 3 summers, I've had either a newborn baby, Ellie, or been very pregnant. And I don't want that this summer. I want to have fun.
So that was question 1.
Yeah.
With extra details.
The second most asked question is how we decided on Oakley's name.
And I don't...
We had a list of names. So Oakley was actually 2 different names before he had his name. There was one that we had, like, really decided on before we even found out what he was.
Right. And maybe we'll do a video of like names we like but didn't use.
Maybe, but that's hard because I feel like
we also may use them for the next thing. So I don't know. We'll see.
But and then there was another name that we really loved, but we felt like the spelling was weird and no one would either know how to say it or spell it. And then it just like one day Oakley had been on our list, like Remington had been on our list. They just weren't our like.
But was it Oakley? On your list, you had Oaks.
So I call him Oaks. And if it had been up to me, his name would have just been Oaks.
But I don't care, I don't care for one-syllable names. I don't want to name my children one-syllable names. Not that I don't like them. It's just, they feel odd to me for some reason.
Yeah, any one-syllable name I can already throw out because I know that he's not going to like it.
So she liked Oaks, and we have Ellie, and we have Eloise, we call her Ellie, and Remington's Remy. So I was like, well, there's no reason in giving him a name and then giving him a nickname this time. So let's just call him something that will kind of go with it.
Right.
So we transformed Oaks, which you liked, into Oakley, and then that became his name. So his name is Oakley Myers. Yeah,
and Myers is after my aunt who passed away from cancer in
November
of 2019. So yeah, we actually thought about naming him Myers, but we just couldn't. I couldn't decide if I really loved it or not.
Right, and that's one of the I would have sacrificed my one-syllable thing for that. But we also couldn't find a good middle name that we liked to go with it either. So that's why we kind of.
So yeah, just all of our kids have family middle names. And then just first names that we like. I feel like everybody kind of has a system for naming their kids, and that is what ours has been. And boy names are so hard for us. Like, we have so many girl names.
Right.
And we had 2 boys in a row. So that was hard. It was hard for us.
I mean, it was hard for Remy. It took us a while with Remy.
Yeah.
And then
it took us a lot longer with Oakley.
Yeah.
Oakley was nameless for a lot longer than Remy and Ellie were. So we have filmed my labor and delivery story.
Yes.
We will post, I'll probably post that next week. It's a long one, so it's going to take a lot of editing. But a lot of people wanted to know if I did anything different for Oakley's birth. A lot of just like positive thinking. That was one thing when we decided on his name. He just was a very like strong, peaceful baby. And when I think of an oak, that's what I think of. And he kind of had to be. We didn't I didn't have time to worry about him, which was good. Like, I was chasing 2 toddlers around. And so in preparation of his birth, it was just a lot of like, I know my body can do this. It already did it once.
Right.
He's healthy, he's fine, and believing that things are going to continue to be fine, and that things were going to be different with my labor and delivery. I chose a different OB, we chose a different hospital, and my doulas and we together kind of decided that would give me a good like head start of this is a different experience. Nothing is the same. Everything is different. Everything has the potential to be different.
And it really did. I mean, the entire birth and even pregnancy experience was a complete change because
things felt normal.
Right.
But I had just given birth 11 months before that. If you wanted to find out more about my labor and delivery, watch
What's that?
The video that comes up. Oh, I wanted to answer this. You answer for yourself first. Yeah.
If you could go back in time before kids and tell yourself something, what would it be? Don't spend all of the heartache on it beforehand and enjoy life, because I felt like we missed out on a lot of good times because we were just focused on.
I'm already getting emotional. It always makes me emotional when we talk about this because it just like, and I posted on Instagram the other day that I wish that I could have seen what was coming because we wouldn't have wasted, like, we didn't waste our life.
Right.
We didn't waste time, but I kept saying like, we'll really start living once we have kids.
Right.
And we did take advantage of the time that we had. Like, we took our trip to Disneyland before Ellie was born, and like, we spent time together. But one thing that I wish that I could say is like, it's going to happen, maybe not the way that you expect it to, but you're going to be parents. Just live these days. My friend and I were talking, she and I are kind of in the same place of like, we're not actively having kids right now, which is such a weird space to be in, because that's what she and I have both been doing for the past 13 years. And one of her friends told her, like, don't wait to start your life, because these days are just as much your life as the big days and the important days. Right. Like, you only have so many days, so live those days. And that's what I wish that I could go back and tell us, is just live your days, just live your life. The good things are going to come, the bad things are going to come, and there's not really anything that you can do to prevent those things. So just enjoy the things as they happen.
Yeah, like that would be my advice, is even if you're going through what we had to go through, which, you know, you go through IUIs and all of the infertility stuff, it's like, still do stuff for you.
Right. Or it's okay to do things to just make us happy.
Don't just solely, that's all you ever do.
Right.
Even though that's what you want to do at that point in time.
Right. And it's hard. I mean, it's so hard. Infertility is one of those things that is like so consuming of everything in your life. Like, there's always something to think about, or something to work on, or something to change. And so it's hard to take a step away from that, because it's all you're trying to do.
Yeah.
How has been transitioning from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 kids?
So we have differing views on this, much different. I think going from 0 to 1 was the hardest for me.
It was in some ways, yes.
But because that was the first time we were ever parents. Like, we had to learn everything from scratch, essentially, right? 1 to 2 wasn't all that bad. Except for the fact that Remy was an absolutely terrible sleeper. That was the issue with him, really. So 1 to 2 was fine. 2 to 3 is super hard, in my opinion, because you become outnumbered. So
he doesn't realize we were outnumbered with 2.
I mean, we kind of were. But if her arms are full and my arms full, and someone needs something, you got to give somewhere, and that's going to make someone unhappy, and it inevitably, they'll all need something at one time.
And that comes a lot from having kids so close together too.
So that's my thought on it. I think 0 to 1 was the hardest, 2 to 3 was second hard, and then 1 to 2 was like, I've got this, but I wish my kid would sleep.
So 1 to 2 was definitely the hardest for me. 2 to 3 was not at all, like, no, I should rephrase that. There have been hard moments for sure. But I feel like 1 to 2 just rocked me in a way of like, I have so much more, like with Ellie, it was like 50-50. I took care of myself 50% of the time. I took care of her 50%. You know, like, we were a team. She and I did things together. Like, when she was asleep, everything was done. She was a great sleeper. And then Remy came along, and not only had I had a really traumatic labor and delivery, so the first few weeks following his birth, I was a wreck. I mean, there was an hour every day for like 2 weeks that I just cried. Nothing was wrong. I was just crying. And so that was really hard on me. I'll make another video about this because a lot of people really want to know about my breastfeeding stuff, but breastfeeding was really, really hard on me, and I was really hard on myself about that.
Right.
And so yeah, 1 to 2 was just a lot of like, oh my gosh, there's so much to do now. Right. There's so many kids to take care of, which I laugh about now because now having 3 kids, I'm like, oh my gosh, 2 was, Mickey's telling us what time it is. 2 was such a walk in the park compared to taking care of 3. But yeah, no, 2 to 3 just was, which my labor and delivery was a breeze. And Oakley is a great baby. And so that probably makes things easier. Remy was, and still is, our hardest child. He is so amazing. But oh my goodness, like he is such a mama's boy. He needs me. He was not meant to be the middle child. No, he was 100% meant to be an only child because he is, oh my gosh, I can't even get into that boy. But he's also the best. Like, he's the best. We just love him so much. He's the sweetest. But
he's very needy and he's very opinionated.
Yeah, and what he needs right then.
Right.
And if he's having to say it, that means you're already late.
Right.
So anyways, yeah. Someone asked, how did we find out that we were pregnant with number 3? So I just woke up, I stood up out of the bed, and I just knew I was pregnant.
Yeah.
I could just feel it. The tests were practically negative. Somehow I got a positive digital test when my lines were like barely there. I don't know. I think it was a God thing, being like, she needs to know. Yeah. Someone asked, do you believe that once you have one natural pregnancy, birth, baby, your body just starts up again? I don't know. Honestly, I feel like it's such a hard thing to talk about because I have a lot of close friends who, you know, everybody says, oh yeah, once you adopt, you get pregnant. And that's just not how it happens for everybody. There are a lot of people, and a lot of my close friends adopted and did not just get pregnant. I think in our case, we were supposed to find Ellie, and once we did that, I was able to get pregnant. I don't know what the reason is for that. Yeah, I mean, we got pregnant with Oakley right away.
Right.
And so, yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see how the next one goes. We're waiting a lot longer this time, and that is one of my fears at the end of the day, is that in some amount of time that my body will revert back to not being able to get pregnant. So we'll see how things go. I don't really have any thoughts or opinion on whether I believe that it just goes back to...
And we have no medical background to back it either way if we did have an
And there was no medical explanation as to why I was able to get pregnant with Remy and Oakley. So
another question was the best and hardest parts about 3 under 3, but I think we'll probably make another video on that because that could be a whole video in itself. So
I mean, the best part is just that they all play together.
Right.
They're all in a similar stage of life. And so, you know, it's not Ellie being 5 and Remy being 1 and him messing everything up, and she just doesn't understand why. Like, they're both just wrecking things together.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to get back to normal life around here, but we hope that you guys will stick around and see how things unfold for us for the next year. If you have any other questions, you can leave those in the comments down below. I believe we have comments. We did on our last video.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll do another Q&A at some point.
We'll look back to them at some point.
But anyways, we will see you guys soon.
Bye. Bye.